So let's talk about the term authentic leadership. Authentic leadership was a term coined by Bill George. He coined it in the early 2000s. Recently, he has written a book called True North, and that came out in the past 5 years. He talks a lot in that about what it really means to be an authentic leader. Since this is a practice course, we're not necessarily going to get into talking about all the other different styles of leadership that he refers to in there, but I am going to refer to just a few so you can understand this concept. So there are leaders that are spiritual leaders, military leaders, business leaders, and they each have a different style of leadership. And so the question is, kind of like, would you want your military leader to be like a spiritual leader? Or would you want your military leader to behave like a business leader? And vice versa, would you want your spiritual leader to behave like a military leader? But can they all be authentic leaders in their domains? Because, as I said, we would not necessarily want our military leaders to be behaving in ways that are not suitable to the situation that they are in. So I looked up the term authentic, and authentic means to be genuine. So then I went and looked up the term genuine, and genuine means to be authentic. So what I took that to mean is what they're talking about is how do you be real and true to yourself, your own style? How do you be a whole person that thinks about the effect of what you say on other people and the effect of that on yourself, rather than just kind of going by this strict set of guidelines? Then I looked up the word leader because I was very curious about the word leader. There are so many people that we call leaders. And a leader, there are 3 definitions that I've found, and I'm sure that there are many more than that. The first definition was someone who leads a group, an organization, or a team. The second definition of leader was somebody who motivates a group. Then the third one was an individual who can find a solution or an idea, an invention to an idea, and brings it and shares that with a larger team. Now that last one to me can be pretty much anybody when you think about it. I prefer to think about the fact that all of us have something to share and something to offer, and each and every one of us can be a leader in different situations. I want you to think about, have you ever had somebody who was not bestowed the title of leader, but somebody that you really looked up to or you admired, or somebody that on your team you just really felt comfortable with? And because of that, you were drawn to their ideas and their concepts, and together you really created something wonderful. Now, that's the third definition of leader that I had found in the dictionary. That's one of the reasons that I am not crazy about the term leader, because often it gives us the idea that, well, why should I try? I'm not the leader. What do I have to give to that? But the reality is we each have a lot to give. Leaders usually stand apart they have a designation bestowed upon them. And I have been in a job title that gives me a leadership position. And I was not very comfortable with standing apart from everybody because my role just had a set of job descriptions that meant that I had enough experience to take on those higher responsibilities. And it was very uncomfortable for me when people started treating me different when I got promoted. And I think the big reason is that I believe each and every single person is valuable and every single person has something to offer. But this is really your journey, not mine to talk about my journey. So I'd like you to embark upon you thinking about, what does authentic mean to you? What does that look like? What does leadership mean to you? What does that look like? Anyone who is in a position of leadership does a lot of self-discovery and self-inquiry. And when they don't, they just do kind of like a job. Often they're very disconnected from the team that they're a part of or the community that they are a part of. And I often think of them as a wanderer. someone who's saying things but doesn't necessarily have any followers or any community to have that information land in and cultivate. So the next film is going to be about how the steps that you can embark on in that finding your best self and finding your authentic self.